Welcome to the practice segment. What I just did was one shot off the table, which is a very good way to learn how to handle your guns. There's hundreds of different ways that you can do this. Guns on the table like I did right there, back to holster. You can start with the guns in your holster. You can start with a shotgun, start with the rifle. You can split your pistols to shotgun. Hundreds of routines that you can learn right there. That will teach you how to load and how to pick up and how to put down a gun the quickest way. And what you need to use is a timer in this particular instance. But let's finish this up. What you want to do is you can load 5 in each pistol. Just load 1 into your rifle. That way you open it every time and put it down like we do in a regular match. And then just shoot 1 shotgun. It doesn't take a lot of ammo, and you can learn a lot and everything you need to know about picking up and putting down guns. Well, let's talk about one of the most important items that you can own during the practice. That's the timer. This is a pack timer, also competition electronics. That's the 2 most common timers that you're going to find in cowboy action shooting. Now what this does, of course, is you just hit the button. You can set it on delay, which is what I do during practice routines, and it simply counts every shot. Now in a regular match, what you're going to have is on instant. Well, these timers are designed where you can put them on instant, which is what it is now, or you can set them on delay, which is what I had it on, and it gives you about 3 seconds before it goes off. That gives you time to set up and be ready to shoot. But we don't have internal clocks, so there's no way you say, well, that felt pretty good. Well, okay, it felt pretty good, but how long did it take you to do it? The way you learn what's quickest for you is through the timer. You can practice picking up guns. Is how long does it take me? If I want to start with hands-on hat, I can load my rifle up and just hit the buzzer, come down, come up 1 shot, see what that took me. Now I can say, well, that felt pretty good, but was it good? Is it faster to pick that gun up like this, or am I better off snatching it up? You'll find out real quick that's slower. So a timer is a very critical part of your practice. And now another second part of practice is dry firing. We have live fire practice and you can have dry fire practice. Dry firing is just simply handling your guns. You're learning to handle your guns. I could do the same routine I just did with no ammo in the house. But I need to know, well, how long is that taking me? Well, you can set these timers on what they call a delay. So for instance, I can come in here, I can hit this, then I can come up and set this time. Say I want to set it at 5 seconds. Well, I can simply come up here, set it on 5 seconds, push the button, I have it on delay. Now it goes off in 3 seconds, and then at the end of 5 seconds, it's going to buzz again. And what that's going to tell me, if I'm trying to learn to do something within 5 seconds, I just need to get between the buzzers. So a timer is one of your most critical tools you can have to learn how to go from gun to gun and to really improve your skills on handling these weapons. Let's talk about practice in general. The main thing in practice is that you want to do what you're uncomfortable with, not what you're comfortable with. It's the only way that you're going to get better. Most shooters are, if a right-handed shooter, for instance, and he's shooting 2 strong sides like me, everybody likes drawing their right gun. Well, they're uncomfortable drawing their left gun. So when they go out and practice, they'll spend most of their time drawing the right gun because that's what they're most comfortable with. What you need to do is spend at least 80% of your practice and your draws while you're out there shooting with your left gun. It's the only way that you're going to improve. If there's other things you don't like I don't like to move right to left. I'd rather move left to right because I'm right-handed. Practice all your movement right to left. That's what you're uncomfortable with. That's good. What you want to do also, most right-hand shooters like to shoot left to right. Most left-hand shooters like to shoot right to left. You're comfortable with it. Why practice it? What are you uncomfortable with? Are you uncomfortable shooting right to left? And that's what you ought to be practicing. Are you uncomfortable with particular orders? That's what you should be practicing. When I'm out practicing, I don't ever shoot left to right, left to right, left to right. I'll always do it different every time I shoot. I may shoot right to left one time, the next time I may shoot outside, outside, inside, inside, middle. I might do double taps. It varies. I save a lot of the books from these other matches just so I can go in there and remind myself of all the different orders we may face. And I practice every conceivable order that you can shoot. I just don't stay with one order all the time. That way, when I show up at a match, I'm comfortable. It doesn't matter. When I see a right to left or an outside, outside, inside, inside, middle, anything like that, where I think I have an edge over some people is, it doesn't bother me in the least. It gives me confidence. So what I would suggest strongly is always practice what you're uncomfortable with. Don't practice what you're comfortable with because you're already comfortable. I get asked quite a bit about, Jim, how do you practice? And I do have a specific practice routine that I go through. One of the things I had trouble with early on in my shooting were first stages of a match. I was just nervous, I was uptight about it. You know, when you show up at a match, you haven't got to warm up or anything, so you're just pulling out your guns cold and shooting them. So that's the reason most people are pretty nervous on first stages. I'll tell you how I corrected that years ago, and I do it every time I practice. When I get out, first thing I do, I don't look down a gun, I don't lever a gun or operate my pistols, I don't do any of that. I simply walk up to the tables or wherever I'm going to shoot, and I load my guns. Then I'll step back and I look at the targets and I go, okay, I'm going to shoot this particular scenario. It's not going to be an easy one, it's not going to be an extremely difficult one, but it's going to be something with some gun handling in it. I'll get that in my mind. I'll take my timer, set it on delay, and usually set it on the table or just leave it hooked right into my belt like this, because it'll go right along with you and pick up the shots. And I'll get in whatever position I want to start. I hit the timer and I shoot the stage. And I only shoot it one time. That's critical. What you don't want to keep on shooting the stage. I get one shot at shooting that stage good. And that's the first thing I do in practice. I shoot a cold stage. I've done that for years now. When I go to a match nowadays, I'm more confident in the first stage than I am the last stage. I just need to figure out a practice routine how to get easy on that last stage, and I'll be all set. But the first stage, some of my best stage times, and when I win a stage at a major match, it's usually going to be stage 1 or stage 2 of the match. And it's because of this practice routine. So that's the first thing I do when I get out to practice. The next thing I do is I want to make sure I get a good sight picture. So what I'll do, I'll just simply go to working the guns. And I'll just work the pistols by themselves, the rifle by themselves. I won't be working many transitions in this at all. And I'll come out and I have as you've seen on the targets, I have some little targets on top of the bigger squares. I'll just simply pull out my guns and I'll make sure I get a perfect sight alignment and try to hit the center of those. I shoot the rifle targets a lot with my pistols. I just working sight picture. I'll pull up my rifle and I have some little 4-inch targets and swingers out there. I'll just work sight picture. That's all I'm trying to ingrain. I don't care about speed, just wanting to get the perfect sight alignment. I might practice picking the gun up and getting perfect sight alignment. I may draw, come out, make sure I get perfect sight alignment, but that's all I'm doing is working perfect sights. From that point, once I feel comfortable and I've got good sights working for me, I go to my match speed. That's just shooting my sights as quick as I can get on target. And that may be, if you're getting perfect sight alignment, like we talked earlier in the earlier segment, I can be on the right side of the target, but if I got still behind it and I got good sight alignment, I can break that shot. So I go into working match speed, and I'll run the guns by themselves, and I go ahead and at that point work some transitions. I may go from pistol to rifle, back to the other pistol, pick up the shotgun, shoot a couple, may do some movement, but I actually do some match stuff. And from that point, when I stop that routine, I practice my speed. The only way you can get faster is by shooting faster. I'm not necessarily concerned about my sights. I'm trying to get sights on target, but I may or may not. I'm not concerned about my misses. All I'm trying to do is teach my eyes to catch up with my guns. At that point, I may miss a lot, but I actually operate my guns as fast as I can operate them. And I'll do that for quite a while. And what I'm doing is learning my speed. But you never want to end your practice there, because you want to have the right mindset when you leave the range. So from that point, I go right back down and start working my match speed again. And I make sure I'm on target and I go back to my match speed. Then I end the practice just kind of how we started the practice, is on sight pictures, small targets. So I call it a pyramid practice is what I do. I start out with a perfect sight picture. I shoot match speed. I then go to the top of the pyramid. I am running nothing but pure speed. I go right back to match speed, and I end the practice on ingraining in my mind what a perfect sight picture is. So that's my practice routine. Let me talk about a couple of drills that will help you. One thing that people have trouble with is sticking their holster or maybe transitioning slow from this gun to this gun. And especially with two strong side holsters, this is a very good drill. One of the things I do, I'll just simply set up on a single target and start however you want to, but it's just drawing out one gun, reholster, shoot the other one, just continue. That teaches you to bring the gun up flat like we need to, teaches you to drive it and to get on target. Teach me where that holster is. I look it back in every time. But you can just practice this and it comes in real handy on learning how to do your holsters. You need to do that live fire just for the recoil effect, but dry firing at the house is an excellent way to start this. Now another routine is on movement. We talked about taking big steps and not shuffling. Another practice thing that I do to make sure I am moving smoothly and moving big steps is I'll load the two guns up, I'll take a shot, and then I'll just move this table, take a shot, come back, and just practice hitting and drawing. What I'm doing is practicing taking big steps. You can see I'm kind of out of position. I'm not in my perfect stance, but I can learn. I may even go back and start shooting back this way so I can learn my movement in my legs. So those are a couple of routines that'll really help you. Another thing I'd like to talk about is start positions at the beginning of each stage. As most of you know, that's shot cowboy action. You never get to start in this perfect position every time. You may have hands on windowsills. You may be starting with hands on hat. We've held ropes behind us, maybe hands on tables. So another thing that I do when I'm out is I'll practice one-shot drills, which is very critical. Is something that you want to practice is one-shot drills with pistol, rifle, shotguns, just one shot at a time. But if I'm practicing my pistols and I'm practicing one-shot drills, I'll never start just sitting here like this, ready to go every time. I may start with my hands up, come down and draw. I may start hands back behind, draw, maybe thumbs in the holster, draw. Every conceivable way you can think of, hands on table, however you can do it, that's great. Another thing I like to talk about is looking at the gun. I've heard some people say, yeah, be sure you're looking at that gun. If you dry fire enough and have practiced enough, and dry fire is where you can learn this, you should know where that gun is without having to look at it. And the reason I don't like to look at the gun, because I want to be concentrating on the area I want to go to and the target I'm focused on. So I'll focus on that target. I know where that gun is because I've been there enough times from dry fire and I know exactly where those guns are. So I can have my body square to the target. When I'm doing this, as you can see, now I'm lined up this way instead of where the target is over here. So the first thing, if I'm doing this, I'm gonna come down and grab that gun. I gotta come up and find the target. I'm drawing the gun, now I got this shoulder movement before I can go to it. If I'll just stay like this, I'm already squared up. I know where that gun is. I can come down and get that gun, come out and focus on that target and get that first shot off a lot quicker than doing this. So practice those drills, that'll help you. We talked about starting from different positions with the pistol, hands in all different configurations, thumbs in the belt, hands behind. You want to do the same thing with your rifle and your shotgun. It's just going to teach you to get that first shot quicker. So with a rifle, what I'll do is I'll have that gun down there and I'll practice every position that I can. Hands on gun, I practice everywhere I can. The other thing that I'd like to do is practice it from port arms. So you just set up, and remember port arms is the butt at the waist, the muzzle at shoulder height. And I do like the front sight on the target I'm fixing to shoot. So you can just practice those one-shot drills with it. So it's important to do. On the shotguns, it's the same thing. You can start your hands all different positions and just practice picking them up, shooting them one shot. double barrel, just to save on ammo, don't shoot both rounds, just pick it up, go ahead and load those 2 rounds, fire one time, take your loaded round out, put it back in your belt. You don't have to go through a lot of ammo to do that. Which brings me to another point. When you miss a shotgun target with a double barrel, there's no point whatsoever of just loading 1 round. It's not what you're used to, what you've practiced and what you have ingrained in you is a load 2. So simply go ahead and load those 2 rounds. If you load those 2, if you happen to miss, you got the 2nd round. So just kick it out, kick the live round out and go on, or the stage over, whatever it is. If you load just the 1, what you can do, you can come up here and say, oh, I'm just gonna need 1. I load it in this barrel. I come up here, click, I pulled the wrong trigger. So there you go, I'm having to crack it back open or go the other trigger. It just wastes time. So always load 2. 97, same as that, just practice it every configuration. Let's talk one thing about poppers. We have several of those in the game where you knock it down and it throws the bird up in the air. One thing that I like to do on those particular targets is I normally load a heavier round. I always carry a little bit heavier loads in my gun cart, and I may use a heavier load on the knockdown part of it because I want to be able to engage that target as quickly as possible. If I shoot a lighter load at it, it may sit here and just go. I wanted that thing down to where I can get it on that other target. Another thing I can do for you, if it's a low popper where it just throws the bird up a little ways, if we use that heavier load, if it hits it harder, it'll give you a little more time and throw that bird on up easier for you. So try those routines, and I think that will help you also. Let's talk a little bit about duelist shooting. The one thing that a duelist shooter can use to his advantage is not setting a gun down if he's got to take it with him. It's the same thing we talked about earlier in the segment about holding onto that shotgun and shooting. The one thing, one of the duelist shooters, a lot of them just shoot their strong side, which would be just like, in my case, would be right-handed. And they'll use a cross draw to where they draw out and they can come out and they can shoot, they can bring it back and shoot this. The one thing, some of the best duelists in the country are normally 2 strong side shooters. And what that is, because they can be, as soon as they break this shot, as that gun's coming back, this hand is down and it's bringing out this gun. They can actually, if it's back-to-back pistols, as they're shooting this gun, this hand is already in position here. So they can shoot, and as soon as that last shot's broke, they're coming out and have it out. That is much quicker than going with the cross-draw configuration like this, where you're breaking, then you're coming down, and then you're reaching. You can already have your hand on it. So the advantage of a duelist shooter by shooting 2 strong sides is they can have that second gun ready to go anytime. Plus, they have a lot more options if they need to carry something. If you have to carry a bag of gold, they can shoot the right gun. If you got to move down, they can simply shift over here. They're not having to put the bag of gold down for like I do with the traditional. They can just shift hands, grab the other gun and shoot. So I would suggest if you shoot duelists, might want to give the 2 strong sides a chance. It might help you. Everything that we've done live fire here can also be done during dry fire. We went through the timer and showing you how you can adjust it to put it on delay and then set the secondary time to go off to where you can learn to shoot within a certain time element. What you want to do on dry fire, you can do this at your house. It doesn't cost you a thing to do. It just takes a little bit of time. One thing I like to do is put up something to shoot at. Some people have suggested, using a 1-inch dot or something like that. I'd rather use Post-it notes. But the one thing that dry fire can hurt you in, if you're not very careful with it, is getting off your sights. All you're doing is just coming out and seeing how fast you can operate your guns before the buzzer goes off again. That's not good practice, because you're not really going to learn anything. You can operate the gun, but you're not operating under recoil. What you want to learn dry fire is sight picture. You can first draws, learn this flat draw coming out here, but picking the rifle up. But you want to maintain a sight picture while you're dry firing. If you don't, you're going to end up going to a match saying, boy, I'm sure shooting my guns fast, but you're missing a lot. So I use Post-it notes is what I use, and they're about this big. And I just make sure that I have my sights on that Post-it note before I fire. If you use a little bitty dot, you're going to end up just saying, well, I'm pretty close to it and firing. Well, you're going to bring that right out here to the range with you. So you don't want to do that. So remember, anytime you're shooting your sights, whether it's dry fire or live fire, always focus on the sight. Don't look at the target. You want to focus on that sight. So do that with your dry firing, and it'll move right over into your live fire, and it will really help you.